Every time Georgia is mentioned in Egypt, everybody talks about your experience, your country's experience with the Interior Ministry and the police restructuring. How did you do that?
I think it's much bigger with that. We just started with the police because police was essential, and police was just, we fired all of them one day. For 3 or 4 months we were without police, then we recruited young people, retrained them very fast, gave them new equipment, new cars. I mean, they didn't even have cars in the past, but the main thing that, or respect of the society. Previous police was respected only by 6% of the society or trusted. This one has more than 85, 86.
Let's move more into the international scene. I just saw on your desk The Economist with a cover with the Russian President Putin, and the cover reads, the beginning of the end of Putin. How do you look on the Georgian-Russian relationships, especially with Putin coming back?
Look, Putin first of all never left, and we had no illusions about it. But even this situation is better for us, because before those people who wanted to believe illusions, they were believing their own illusions. Fine. Now they know at least that the game is open. But this is not the only thing. The main thing I think is happening, that Russia society, no matter what, needs to modernize. And this is the guy who comes in and tells them, I'll bring you back to the Soviet Union. There is no more Soviet Union. It's over. It's finished. It's dead. You cannot dig it out and bring it to life. That's why there is no future for this kind of policy.
Maybe he's speaking about a great Russia, not a Soviet Union in an old version.
Of course they came in here in 2008 with, they were always present on the ground, but they basically tried to seize more of Georgia and seize part of it. But the reality is that Russian society will modernize. That's why we have two approaches, separate. One towards this government in Russia, which we perceive as dangerous, obvious, but on the other hand towards Russian society. So we just did the total visa-free regime for Russian citizens. I mean, before we had it for southern regions of Russia. Now, you can imagine, we had terrorist attacks from Russia, dozens of them. It's officially proven by not only us, but validated by also foreign intelligence. We have 20% of our territory occupied. We have every 10th Georgian is a refugee or an internally displaced person in his or her own country because of Russian presence. And still, we say we are more than happy to see Russians coming as tourists. And this year, we might even get 1 million Russians as tourists. Okay. And for us, it's also a matter of national security. First of all, it's economy. Nice to have money in, but also we think that if Russians come in and see what another kind of system means, the country that is vilified in their media, and suddenly they come in, nice roads, nice smiling.
But how can you keep the balance? How do you keep the balance between what you're talking about and on the other side, it is a political foe? Yeah, Russia is a political foe.
Well, look, the point here is that if they want to undermine us through subversion, they can do it anyway. That's not you don't go through tourists to do it.
Okay.
The way how our border guards are now. We are now changed system in many points. People don't even have to take out their passport. This electronic chip. You go through gates, and they're also to the border guard. You just go. So Russians are seeing it. So they come in. They go around, and you just need to have society that is coherent, that is not afraid to, accept these guests, talk to them, be open-hearted. Because in long run, these people should know that Georgia is a friendly country. That's our strategic interest. Of course, the fact that we have places in my country where we cannot go physically to. I cannot visit my ancestors' house or graves because Putin decided it's no longer my house. And this one I'm talking now not as president, like one of the citizens, because 5 million of my compatriots have the same problem. It's a huge disaster, and of course I think about it. On the other hand, just trying to reciprocate for that on ordinary Russians, it makes no sense.
Let's move away from Russia a little bit, and again I'm turning not only to a president but to someone who has led a revolution. How do you look on the Arab Spring revolutions, and do you think, because there's an argument that is quite strong nowadays back where I belong, is that it didn't meet the success it was expected to?
No, look, I think it was a huge success, and I think this is the main thing, is that everything opened up. It's a wide open game.
Even with all the violence spreading?
Look, we had, the problem is that these problems were accumulating, and this was unavoidable. Suddenly you have an open political game. When you have open political game, you have set of problems that were out there. ethnic, religious, just internal society strife, lots of family feuds, lots of other things. And there was no venue for them to be solved, and there was just one strong hand holding everything together, and even that was very artificial, right? So once it's released, then you get all these things coming out. How do you sort it out? It's inevitable time of chaos. Now it's up to these nations to make it as short as possible. And to have orderly transition. How
do you look on what's happening in Syria? Now we know that there is a different move, a different international stance towards Syria.
Look, it's very simple. Every nation aspires to freedom. Every nation. We are living in 21st century. Nobody, something would happen in 70s or 80s, nobody would care. You could do just anything, and people would gossip.
Yes.
There would not be even a photo of it. Now, it's live on television. Of course, it also makes people cynical. It also provides that interest span is short. Still, human brain is limited at what it is. It has not expanded dramatically, so it can just digest this kind of information. It's everywhere. This information, in the end, it gets saturated. We know it from our own example.
How do you look on Egypt, especially post-revolution?
No, I think Egypt is a great hope. Look, first of all, Georgia understands this region very well because traditionally, historically, we've been very linked. Lots of Georgians have gone to Egypt or other places around Egypt, and we made very much part of those historic elites. So we understand mentality, we understand family relations, human relations.
President Mikheil Saakashvili, we thank you very much for the time and honor on this special appearance.
It's a great honor. You have to know we have huge sympathy for the Egyptian nation, huge, and not only us. I think right now Egypt is leading the world as an example, and I think Egyptians sometimes don't think about it because they have their own issues. But from our point of view, whatever happens there will, in big terms, define what will happen to the world.